Hello, Gobs, and welcome back to another episode of RPG Stories. You guys know the drill already. I'm going on the subreddit. Doesn't matter the subreddit. I'm finding RPG stories. I'm going to read them, and I'm going to give advice on them. Okay? It's that simple. Social media in the description if you want to send me your own stories to read. Click on my name to find out other content that I do. And these may or may not be real. They may be fake. Even if they are, they still make good stories to give advice on. So sit back and let me, read. What else am I going to do? Act it out for you? Too much work. A king is quite busy, you know. That didn't sound awkward at all. Let's just get reading these stories. Our first story comes from Han Amanra. Left the game because GM uses AI chat for character interaction. I can't seem to escape these. Maybe I search them out and I completely forgot to look for that previous episode that I would say in the last one. Don't worry about that. The main focus is that once again I am warring my war against generative AI and TTRPG settings. Look, I understand if it's personal, you're still stealing from people, there's an environmental impact. It's not so bad if you're using it for personal use and not trying to sell it or anything, but even then, that's still kind of really bad, and we probably shouldn't just use generative AI at all. But I've said my many opinions about this. Go find my gob rants about AI. I still agree with most of it, even though it's like a year ago. I should do a follow-up. But anyways, let's read about this story. This is going to be a short one, but what's everyone's thought on using clankers while playing TTRPGs? Look, I should have just read the first line of the story, and I could have just told you to go look at my video, but whatever. I don't mind if it's used as a way to let you off from a writer's block when developing stories, but personally I think it's lazy and just kills the authenticity of a game, especially if it's done while the session is live. So we were playing Wrath and Glory 40k on Discord, and I rolled an Oedipus. Nope, I'm gonna butcher this. Sorry, Warhammer fans, I'm gonna butcher this. It's Oedipus Mechanicus character. As usual, he's robotic in his interactions and etc. Everything was going well until my character went to the factory that my character's faction, AdMech, is located, and that's when I noticed that whenever I speak in character, he would pause for 10 to 20 seconds. I would hear keyboard typing via his mic. Then I would get a near-perfect, grammatically correct reply, which is suspicious given English isn't his first language, so am I. And it just doesn't match the way he speaks whenever the other players speak to his other NPCs, e.g. your average Joes and Imperial Man. It also doesn't make sense that a tech priest, someone who is above the hierarchy, is somehow revering my character who is a Skitari, aka cannon fodder, because he shares the same goal as his, when in reality, tech priests in 40k are usually cold and calculative or almost devoid of humanity, so it just felt weird after the interaction, if so out of place. Regardless, I left the campaign without award or argument. I just hope future GMs would stop doing this. Very short story, but horror nonetheless, because of using Gen AI to talk back to your players. Now, I don't know much about the lore of Warhammer 40k. I did read into the comments a little bit, and it was something like tech priests actually know the dangers of AI, and it's very ironic to use Gen AI to talk for a tech priest, even though tech priests would never use AI. And I guess that makes sense, but if you're a Warhammer fan who knows the lore, maybe explain it to me in the comments. But let's get to the point of the story. When you use Gen AI, it's one thing for art or to plan a session, but when you're using it actively while talking to a player, yeah, I don't think that's very good. Even if you are like the character that the player is talking to is like an AI, I don't think you should use Gen AI. I mean, there's a bit of like maybe realness to it, but then again, even in stories that are centered around, I guess Gen AI, it would still be like your players are fighting against Gen AI. I think it would still be pretty ironic to use Gen AI in order to talk back to your players. You lose that player-to-player authenticity like the OP said. There's just not that human-made authenticity in there. You know, OP's put it very forward clearly, and he is kind of right. I hope future GMs would hopefully rely on their own imaginative brains, but even if you can't, you can still run modules and stuff. I mean, anything to avoid Gen AI is basically what I'm trying to get at. Just don't use it, okay? We want to kind of save the environment, you know? And even if there wasn't the environmental impact, we still want to flourish our own human creativity, okay? We want to have big brains and not rely on Gen AI to tell us everything and to explain everything for us, okay? So, develop those brains, guys, and let's move on to our next story. Our next story comes from Noisy Little Frog. A pervert player and 3 wishes. Essay warning. Mention a rape. Going off of that title, who would have guessed? English isn't my first language, so there might be some mistakes, but I think the main point of it is clear. I'm running a series of D&D one-shots, gradually merging into a single campaign, set in Salvic fairy tales. They're fairly light and funny stories. The number of players fluctuate. I usually invite all my friends, but this time a friend suggested inviting someone she knew, or maybe he was her boyfriend's friend, so I wasn't particularly close to him. I met him once before in another one-shot, also mine, but in the Call of Cthulhu system. There he had a character named Cream Pie, and basically flirted aggressively with every woman, groping them and making dirty hints. I tried to counter him narratively, for example by having the husband show up unexpectedly or by the woman slapping him. Obviously, this wasn't the most suitable character for that system, but he was playing for the first time. Maybe he wasn't quite comfortable yet, and he'd seen how I reacted. So everything would be fine next time, right? No, it isn't. I also read this in the comments. I like to read the comments a little bit to try to get a grasp of what the story might be, and someone else made the note that he was doing all of this in that first one-shot, the Call of Cthulhu one-shot, and you were trying to counter him narratively, you reacted poorly, and he still kept going, and you decide to invite him back? Remember guys, it's different when you're in the moment versus reading it, so let's just continue reading on and give them the benefit of the doubt. The plot of this one-shot was that some silly villagers found a golden egg containing a silly wish granter with traits of an evil genie and caused mischief. The players had to figure out what had happened and fix it if possible. This time, the problematic player introduced a lizard man with a more or less reasonable name and the behavior of a murder hobo. Are the red flags not already going off? I mean, okay, like I said, benefit of the doubt, let's keep reading. At first, he didn't do anything suspicious except want to separate from the group, but then the players found their first NPC, an unfortunate guy suffering from a curse. They managed to chat with him for a bit and had almost won him over when the lizard decided to kill him by stuffing the hair and scalp of another NPC, luckily already dead by this time, down his throat. Let's continue reading. Benefit of the doubt. I was shot and suggested to roll something, but another friend said that's not how NPCs are treated. Well, the guy died a horrible death, and naturally, a lot of angry neighbors gathered around, eager for revenge. The player somehow managed to convince them to lower their weapons by using insanely high charisma and discriminatively tying up the lizard. When they walked away from the villagers and freed the lizard, telling him not to do that again, he declared he wanted to tie up another player's character and carry her on his shoulder. I asked her if she was sure she'd be okay with that, or if I should just cancel the idea as a master, but she decided that her god preached humility and she shouldn't resist. Not a red flag! Ding ding ding! Come on, Jim! Not a red flag! Come on! Ding ding ding! Let's continue. He didn't keep it for long, however, as a battle broke out with the village chieftain's daughter who had the golden egg. The players won, and the lizard took the egg and cracked it. A spirit hatched from it, agreeing to grant 3 wishes. The lizard asked if the antagonist was still alive, and when I confirmed it, he made his first wish. Wow, who would have seen this coming? His first wish was to rape her. Red flag! Ding ding ding! Red flag! This time I was genuinely panicked and couldn't think of anything better to do than laugh it off. What are you doing? I exclaimed, playing a role of the wish-granting spirit. Censorship! I'm only 5 minutes old. I don't know what that means. The lizard calmed down and asked to become faster. I made his skin red, yes, a super joke. He didn't like it and asked to become normally fast. By this time, I was sure I'd never play with him again, so I gave him an extra attack, doubled his speed, and I think something else. He was having fun with these abilities for about 10 minutes, and then the game ended. I exhaled, took a sip of water, and politely but firmly told Lizard that it was terrible. I felt uncomfortable, and perhaps my game style wasn't right for him. He apologized and acknowledged it, and we agreed that maybe I'd invite him again someday, but not anytime soon. After he left, the friend who invited him said she hadn't expected it at all, and was also horrified. Please tell me this friend wasn't playing the Call of Cthulhu one-shot. How do you see all the stuff that happens in the Call of Cthulhu one-shot? And obviously, you're not going to know everything about your friends, but I'm just saying, you're friends with them, you played in that one-shot, and they did all of this, and you're surprised? Let's continue reading and finish this off. By the way, Lizard even explained his behavior. I specifically asked because I've seen how often people here ask why a problem player does this. So, he saw it as a test for me, training my creativity and ability to solve difficult situations. I explained to him clearly that if anything was being tested, it was my patience, and I didn't have to put with all this crap at all. I could have simply announced, "Oh no, a meteor is falling, and we'll have to start the game over without you." Well, anyway, it's a pretty positive story, and I'm glad I managed to pull it off somehow. I wouldn't exactly call it positive. At least he sat down at the end and talked out with the problem player. I know I'm cutting right into the advice, but I mean, I'm kind of just a bit angered over this. I don't want to blame the DM at all, but like the person said, they played with them in the Call of Cthulhu one-shot, and they didn't really change their behavior during that game, I'm assuming. And you're going into this, and they start showing signs of doing the exact same thing, but even worse. And then their explanations that, "I was just testing you." You know, my friend once told that to my other friend, okay? No hate. We've resolved this. We talked about it. But he had also was doing the same thing. He's like, "I want to test your limits and see how much you would let me do." And guys, don't do this. Don't do this. If someone wants testing as a DM, then they would probably just tell you. They probably just want to sit down and tell a story with the players and not be tested to see how far their creativity goes. Just let the story roll. You don't need to test anybody. Oh, this story was horrendous. So at least they did the right thing and talked it out and explained why they were uncomfortable, and maybe even got a little bit of an explanation, although I don't agree with the explanation for it at all. But at least you got something, some sort of explanation from the problem player about why they did it. But it is a good decision not to play with them again. So good on OP for that, at least, okay? At least they sat down and talked about it and let the problem player know that they were being a problem. So guys, if you have a similar situation, try talking it out. As always, that's all I always say. Just talk it out. Let them know, like, hey, I don't like that behavior in my type of campaign. If you are going to keep doing that, then you can't be in my campaign, and you have to go find another campaign that will actually enjoy the behavior, I guess. But who would have thought that giving 3 wishes to this person was a horrible mistake? Who would have guessed? But anyways, let's move on into our final story. It's lighthearted, don't worry. Our final story comes from Hydra the Multiple 666, a short LARP solitary story. For those of you who don't know what LARP is, it's live action roleplay. You stand in a big open field with foam swords, but anyways, let's get to reading. The one thing I hated the most about LARPing was that I always ended alone or with people out of their characters most of the time. I kind of wish I could hang out with someone in character for longer, or just with someone full stop. I was about to give up the hobby until I want to say friend, more like a friendly acquaintance. He proposed to do a duo characters of sorts, guaranteeing a friend and character for me. Sweet, right? Wrong. What happened was that I got extremely unlucky. A good friend he hadn't seen for years was there without warning. He spent every single minute of my time there speaking with him, probably out of character, and I was left to wander the woods like always. It's not like he made any single effort to bring me in or split his time between our plans and his friends, nah. Plus, my character was built to be part of a duo. I was almost completely useless alone. Even if I wanted to make it work, and I really did not at that point, it would have been an uphill battle. I left mid-event and never went back. Sometimes, what is the highlight of your experience is truly the bane of others, and it's nobody's fault. It just sucks. It is someone's fault. It's the friend who said that they would duo with you. I get it. You haven't seen the person in years, okay? I wouldn't know that feeling since I'm always with my friends. But if you invite a friend out to do a duo thing at a LARPing event, then you guys should just exchange contacts and meet up later, because you're still in the middle of a plan that you planned, a thing that you planned with your friend. Okay, mind you, I'm gonna stress this enough. If you plan something with a friend and then you spend all that time not doing that, yeah, of course, whoever you invite is going to get up and leave early. I kind of want to know what they did after this. Like, did they talk about it? Did the friend call them and apologize or something along the line? Because surely they would have noticed, like, hey, your duo just left in the middle of the event. That means their character probably can't play either. Not that they were focused. It sounds like they were too busy catching up. Again, it's not that hard to exchange contacts and talk outside of the event that you're playing at later, so you can focus on playing with your friend, unless they're really not your friend. That just sounds like a terrible thing to put on to someone. It's like being friends of a couple and they invite you out to their house or whatever to play board games, but they spend all their time just locking lips. It's like, why even bother showing up if you guys aren't going to do the thing that you were set out to do? Why? It's like you're just like excluding someone, cutting them out. And this happened here. Of course, this was unlucky because it had been a friend they haven't seen forever. But again, like I said, they could have just exchanged contacts and kept playing the event and talked afterwards. Or perhaps talk with the OP, with the duo about it too. Or even tried, if they were really your friends, try to introduce them to each other, like OP said. But from what OP says, they didn't try to do that at all. So I guess since this is LARPing, I guess you just have to keep trying until you find an event or find some friends that will actually care about LARPing with you, which is pretty hard because I don't think LARPing is that popular. But I'm not in the area for it, so what do I know? And as always, I'm just a goblin king. And this has been RPG Stories. What would you guys have done? Which one was your favorite? Which one did you hate the most? Tell me everything down in the comments below. Remember, if you want to tell me your story, I have social media linked in the description. You can put it on the Reddit. You can email me. You could even shoot me a Twitter. Or you could even leave it in the comments of this video. Do whatever you want. Whatever you feel like. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to keep seeing RPG stories, subscribe. I will also eventually start doing other content again. Okay, like I said, I'm between projects at the moment. I myself am working on a game. So what kind of project are you guys working on? And I'll probably forget that and get these comments. I'm like, why are they telling me what they're working on? And then be like, oh yeah, okay. So thank you to the OPs for posting. Thank you for listening and lasting to the end of this video. And I hope you gobs have a lop of a day. May your adventures be free from terrible people.